let's talk about the big numbers in the budget. This is the first time that the standout feature of the upcoming budget is that the government has more money than it expected. It has higher tax and non-tax revenues. Firstly, the government has got a 2.1 trillion rupee dividend from the Reserve Bank, whereas the interim budget had estimated only 80,000 crore dividend. So overall non-tax revenues are going up by 1.3 trillion rupees. Finance Minister Sitharaman may also estimate the tax revenues higher by about 40,000 to 50,000 crore. One, because the final receipts of FY24, that's last year, show that the government collected 27,600 crore rupees more than the interim budget estimated. That's partly why, if you remember, the fiscal deficit had fallen to 5.6% from the estimated interim budget number of 5.8%. Secondly, tax revenues in the April to July period are on an average 12 to 22% higher than last year, showing that the economy is perhaps more buoyant than expected. So the interim budget estimate of a 12% rise in direct taxes can easily be upped to 14 to 15% given the performance of the first quarter, especially direct taxes. All told, Sitharaman may raise the gross tax revenue from 38.3 trillion to 38.7 trillion. After transfers to states, the net tax revenue may jump from 26 trillion to 26.4 trillion. Adding the non-tax revenue advantage, total net revenues to the centre may rise from 30.8 trillion in the interim budget to 32.5 trillion approximately when the final budget comes. Given that we expect government revenues to be at least 1.5 to 1.7 trillion rupees higher, how will the government use it? Now, economists estimate that capex may be increased by about 40,000 crore and revenue expenditure may be increased by 60,000 crore. Some say capex won't be raised much and revenue expenditure via programs for rural development and agriculture may be upped by maybe the entire 1 trillion rupees. The rest of the excess may be used to bring down the fiscal deficit from 16.9 trillion rupees estimated in the interim budget to probably 16 to 16.34 trillion rupees. Hence, the fiscal deficit can fall from 5.1% in the interim budget to 4.9 or even 5%. Now, if the deficit indeed goes down, the government may have to borrow less from the market, probably about 50-60,000 crore less. Now, this lower borrowing by the government can push down bond yields, and that will mean the cost of capital for companies also comes down. Of course, the government may choose to spend more and keep the deficit at 16.9 lakh crore or at 5.1% of the budget, but a fall in the fiscal deficit can mean a huge leg up to a possible upgrade of India by the rating agencies, which will mean a paradigm shift in borrowing costs for India and for Indian corporates. So, much hinges on this budget. Thank you for watching us on CNBC-TV18. For all news and updates, subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch us on all social media platforms.